The most expensive mistake I see people make when they start a business isn't anything to do with their business idea. The idea is usually fine. The problem is almost always the actual business they build around the idea. Because there are two things a successful business has to be able to do at the most basic level. And if it isn't designed and built to be capable of doing these things, it will eventually fail. So what are the two things? Well, first, it has to be capable of giving you, the founder, what you want. Because anyone who starts a business wants something. Whether it's more independence, work-life balance, or building a global brand, it will be something. And if you don't get it, you'll end up not enjoying what you've built, and at some point will probably walk away from it. And it's the same principle if you start something that doesn't make enough money, which is the second thing every business has to do. And I know this is blindingly obvious, but a business has to make a profit. The trouble is, many new businesses actually don't. And the reason isn't usually bad luck. It's because the founders, when they designed the business, didn't optimize for profit. They probably didn't know they could. Which is why I've started this channel, to show you how to design and build a business the right way, so you end up with something you like and are good at, with the best chance of success. And at the same time, you'll learn how businesses work, which is hugely important and not as difficult as you might think. I've been advising businesses for 40 years, and I've worked all over the world with some of the largest companies. So I'm good at this, but I want you to be good at this too, which is why I've developed a method that will guide you through most of what I know about starting a business, running a business, and fixing a broken business. In this video, I want to begin by showing you what it looks like when someone starts a business and does not get those two basic things right. Then I'll show you exactly how the founder could have known before she lost her life savings that her business was not going to work. This is a real story from a few years ago. A work colleague phoned me and asked if I'd help someone he knew, a woman on her own with a new baby. She'd managed to save $20,000 and had used it to open a flower shop. But she'd run out of money. The landlord had taken most of it, $15,000 as a deposit for the shop lease, and the rest had gone on the fit out. Now she had nothing left to buy flowers, so nothing to sell. And the next lease payment was due in 2 weeks. So a few days later, I arrived at the shopping centre where she was. I hadn't been there before, but it was a big place about an hour outside the city. The shops were mostly undercover with an open-air car park all around the outside. And the first thing I noticed was the supermarket did not sell flowers. That caught my attention because in Australia, supermarkets usually do. So if this one didn't, there was probably a reason. I also thought the centre itself was shabby and the people walking around didn't look particularly well off. And that matters for flowers because they're almost always a discretionary spend. So while I was noticing these things, I was also trying to find the flower shop, but I couldn't see it. So in the end, I phoned the woman and found out it wasn't in the undercover area near the supermarket. It was far away on the other side of the car park, which meant customers would first have to know it was there and then be willing to walk for 5 minutes or get back in their car and drive. Anyway, when I got there, it was exactly as I'd been told. There was a woman, an empty shop with no flowers and no customers. I sat with her for 4 hours and helped as much as I could. But the point I want to make today is this. Her problem was not the business idea. There are loads of flower shops and some of them even make money. Her problem was the two things I told you every business has to do. It has to be capable of giving you what you want and it has to work financially. And this business could not do either. Not didn't do them, it couldn't do them right from the start. First, a shop isn't the slightest bit suitable for a new mother. With a baby to look after, she really needed a business that would give her a lot more flexibility than a shop that has to be open 7 days a week and has no money to hire staff, which was the second issue. The business had very little chance of ever being financially viable. Now, it's true there are ways of dealing with shops in out-of-the-way locations, customers with not much money, and supermarkets that could start selling flowers anytime they wanted to. There are even ways to fill an empty shop without paying for it. But the woman didn't know any of these things. She had no business experience and hadn't even done a course in flower arranging. She was completely unprepared, which is why the shop may have been financially viable for someone, but it wasn't for her. So now you have the facts, but what is the lesson? What could this woman have done? And what can you do to make sure nothing like this ever happens to you or someone you know? The answer is, while she was thinking about that shop, but before she'd signed anything, she'd needed to stop and think, but do that thinking in a very structured way. So this sentence now on your screen, I call the sufficiency test. And it describes the underlying logic of every successful business. Just this one sentence, which is made up of 4 related conditions. A successful business must have enough customers willing to pay a sufficient price for its product or service to make an acceptable profit. And if you learn that, learn to understand and apply it, you'll know more than most people about how businesses work. So let's go back to the flower shop example, because that business did not meet a single one of those criteria. And remember, all of this could have been figured out before she signed the shop lease. Did the business have enough customers? No, it did not. Stuck out on the edge of the car park, it actually had no customers. In the 4 hours I sat with the woman, not one person even walked past the entrance. And even if she managed to tell people she was there, and even if they decided to cross the car park to find her, this wasn't the kind of neighbourhood where people buy flowers every week. So there weren't enough customers, and most likely there wouldn't be. What about her product and the price she'd need to charge for it? Well, I said she had no flower arranging skills, which means her product would have had to have been basic bunches. And for that reason, the minute she showed any signs of success, the supermarket in the undercover area that also had all the foot traffic would have immediately started selling the exact same thing, and they would always be able to beat her on price. So putting it all together, the business didn't even have enough customers, but even if there had been, they would be unlikely to pay the prices that she would have had to charge for her simple product. And as those first 3 conditions feed into how profitable the business will be, and we know her costs were high because of the shop lease, so it's highly unlikely the business would ever be profitable. Because the 4 conditions are the business logic, and every single piece of it was broken for different reasons. And if you think that was an extreme example, yes, it was. Most businesses don't manage to fail all 4 conditions at the same time, but some do, and that's what it looks like. Although I don't blame the owners, the usual advice people get given when they say they want to start a business is to find an idea, then download a business plan and start ticking things off. But a business plan is just a glorified to-do list, which is fine, but it doesn't show you how to design a business that works. You can complete every single item in a business plan and still have no real idea where your business is strong, where it is weak, and what you could do about any of it. Which is the problem my method solves. And this is what it looks like. If you want your own copy of the guide, it's free and the link is in the notes. But it starts with the design brief, which is where you decide what you want the business to do for you and what you bring to the business. 2 parts of a whole. And you do this first because a business that works for someone else may be completely wrong for you. Your goals, skills, how much you can invest, everything about you shapes the kind of business you should even be considering. Do you want to make $1 million, or is $50,000 enough? Do you have $20,000 in life savings and a baby to look after? Your business has got to be designed for all of that. So you do that first, then start narrowing down your business ideas. The next step is to start designing. So there are 4 design areas and 2 decisions that have to be made for each area. Now, important point, you can't have a business without making these decisions. So nothing here is extra work. It's just written down and structured. So you make the decisions intentionally and all your assumptions are completely visible. The first design you make can be a rough sketch. High-level decisions for each design area, just enough so you can visualize the business. Who your customers are, what you'll sell to them, and where you'll sell it, and what kind of price you'll charge, and what kind of profit you think it will make at the end. Then apply the business logic, the sufficiency test to your design. The 4 conditions map directly onto the 4 design areas, so it's completely straightforward. Just stop and ask yourself, if you went ahead with this business as you've laid out the design so far, would it be likely to have enough customers? And would those customers be willing to pay a sufficient price for the product or service you've settled on to generate the amount of profit you want from the business? If yes, you can start filling in your design with more detail. And when you're ready, those 4 conditions of the sufficiency test are actually what you verify with your market testing, because nothing in this method will waste your time. The sufficiency test is also how you optimize your design. So if one of the conditions seems weaker than the others, the sufficiency test will point you directly at the design area where you either need to do a bit more research or change something, so it fits better with the other pieces of the business. And as each design area has only 2 design decisions, it's not difficult to try out alternatives, and you can do it all on paper before you spend time and money on something that may or may not work. Because what happened with that flower shop, the whole idea, then the lease, the fit out, everything that happened, wouldn't have happened if the woman had known what I've shown you. And keep in mind that although I saw problems within minutes of arriving at that shopping centre, and you saw them because I told you what to expect, the woman never saw them because she didn't know what to look for. And her mother didn't see the problems either, and not any of her friends. So if you take away nothing else from this video, take the free guide that shows the design model and the sufficiency test. The link is in the notes. And if you're thinking about starting a business or want to learn more about how businesses work, take a look around my channel and please subscribe. I'll be posting regularly from now on. And I won't be holding anything back, so anything at all you want to know, you're welcome to ask. Just leave me a comment. Bye for now.